How's it going, everybody? It is Dennis, and it's that time of the month, guys. YieldMax ETF is releasing, or has released, their dividends they're going to be paying for August. Yes, it's that time of the month. It's August. It's time for dividends from YieldMax ETFs. As you guys know, they send out an email. They post it on their Twitter. You can watch other YouTubers who post it on the day of when the distributions are released. But these are all the distributions, all the different ETFs they have, and all the dividends per share they've released. The important ones for me being TSLY, which is paying 96 cents a share, almost $1, not too shabby, still staying up there. Appley's a little bit low with the 34.98. AMZY is low with the 47.36, but it's to be expected. Amazon, the underlying, has dropped recently, and it did have a good earnings, but it seems it didn't come in time. Because Amazon did drop and we got a low dividend of 47.36, and then GOOY of 49.93. Of course, I love being transparent as possible. This is all the dividends that I'm going to be receiving. So we have all the dividends on Robinhood processed going through. And let's go ahead and take a look at our spreadsheet. Of course, I have to take a look at the spreadsheet, see all the data, break it all down. So let's go ahead and take a look at August. Of course, we're getting the dividends for August, and we have 364 shares for TSLY. Starting it off with TSLY, 364 shares getting paid out $96.61 per share to a total of $351.87. So far, as you can see with TSLY, we are at $2,261.79 paid out for the total year for 2024. So we're doing quite good. We're constantly getting more income coming in. We're reinvesting that income, as always, 50-50 split, 50 back into TSLY and 50% into other funds. Then we have AMZY. We're at 273 shares. As you can see, I bought up a good amount of shares, and that is why we were able to keep up our dividend above the $100 mark. If I did not buy those shares, we would not be above the $100 mark. But I did buy more shares when it dipped, and we're at $47.36 per share, paying me $129.29. And of course, we're at $1,158.02 made so far from AMZY. AMZY is one of those positions that even with the downturn in the market and the downturn in Amazon, I'm still profitable just off the dividends. Before we were profitable on the growth and the dividends, but right now we're just profitable on the dividends earned in total. Looking at Appley, we are at 208 shares. Once again, another ETF that I bought more of. So we're at 208 shares and a little bit on the side, and it paid us $34.98, 2 cents, roughly 2-3 cents higher than previously. And it is, staying stable at the 30 cent mark, so it's pretty good. And we got paid $73.07, so that continues to rise. And our total made from Appley is $433.71. Now, we take a look at GOOY, which is at 228 shares. Yes, I bought a lot of GOOY. It was very low in diversity in my portfolio, so I was like, let me load it up with shares. I think Google is great for long term. I've been saying it all the time. Google underlying is great for long term. Apple, the underlying, is great for long term. In general, most of these ETFs I own are great for long term. Maybe TSLY is a little bit on the sketchy side, but I think long term it has growth potential. I've been saying it for a while. But 228 shares on GOOY. We got paid out $49.93, so higher than the previous month, but lower than the others. I just moved something by accident. And we got paid out $113.86. $113.86, and total of $365.42 so far for the year. So not too shabby. And of course, we have YMAX that is coming up next week, and that is going to be determined on the total dividends we earn from the other ETFs, and of course the amount of shares they hold. I'm pretty sure they're all holding even amount of portfolio diversity in those companies. I think they're all like 5% around the board, or like 4.5%. But yeah, YMAX, we've increased our shares in YMAX. Not going to show you yet how many shares we have because I might add it even more. Dividends, we're expected to be around the 65% mark again. If it's higher, it'll be great. I doubt it, but 65-cent mark is what we're probably going to be around. there could be some dilution towards the week that it actually gets released because people might buy up shares. But if it's the 65-cent mark and we do have the increased amount of shares we have now and amount we're going to add on as well, if I do decide to use some of my funds to add into it, then I see that we're probably going to be around the $140, $150 mark, or maybe just at $132 again. But I think $140, $150 is a possibility. And if we do hit $140 and $150, then we will hit the $800 mark from just YieldMax ETFs. And of course, right now we're at negative 13.46% growth on monthly dividend growth from YieldMax. But that is because we have not taken in account of YMAX. And of course, YMAX so far has earned us $430.93. And our grand total so far from just YieldMax ETFs is $4,649.86. Not too shabby whatsoever. Of course, all these funds are reinvested. I put them back into the funds. I put them into other funds, into option strategies. So it's constantly being recycled. So of course, this is not just pure cash. If it was pure cash, then these numbers would be a little bit different, since we do know that if you do not reinvest, most of the time your dividends do begin to drop off, unless of course the underlying is in a consistent growth cycle, then your dividends actually increase, even if you're taking the cash out, which was what's happening with AMZY. So technically most of the AMZY's dividends are actually cash, because I took them out and put them into other funds instead of reinvesting. That's why we had this little moment where we were at 203, 203, 203, 213. Actually, this wasn't even a reinvestment. This was just me adding money in just because I wanted to. I had extra money on the side. So most of this time was no reinvestments made. So most of this money was just pure cash. But of course, now AMZY is down, TSLY is down, GOOY is down, the whole market is down. And I have a video about that for next week. The whole market's down. These ETFs are down. Of course, it's going to take a while for them to recover. And of course, I have to switch up my reinvestment strategy on it. I will not be reinvesting AMZY's ETFs or dividends into other ETFs. AMZY's dividend is now going to go into AMZY. Why? Because it's at its low. It has dropped significantly. I'm pretty sure it's down like 10%. So I'm going to buy in, lower my average cost. Same with TSLY. I'm still going to do the 50-50 split with TSLY. I am still over diversified into TSLY. So I'm going to, do 50-50, take the 351, split it 50%, put it back into TSLY, and the other 50% I'll put probably the same thing as I do always into Appley, GOOY, and YMAX. For Appley and GOOY, straight back into Appley and GOOY, no changes with that. And then when YMAX comes around, we're going to take the YMAX funds and put it straight back into YMAX because the market is down. So let's reinvest to lower average cost and increase the amount of shares for cheaper. Hopefully the overall market returns higher. But hopefully we don't go into a recession. But not to mention, Roundhill has also been paying quite well. And since we're on the topic and we're on the sheet anyways, might as well talk about Roundhill as well. I know this is a YieldMax ETF video, but let's talk about Roundhill. Roundhill, for the month of August so far, has paid a quite good amount. So we have 99 shares in the first week of August. They paid $56.86 per share for a total of $56.32 for the first week. Then we got 100 share because we reinvested back in and added another share on top. And then we got $51.42, which has increased, gave us a dividend of $51.65. Now we're at we're at a total of $107.97 for just 2 weeks of QDTE. Of course, I didn't even mention this is QDTE. If this is the first time watching your video, I've invested into a weekly fund called QDTE from Roundhill. And for the first week, or the first 2 weeks of August, we're at already $107.97. This has already been performing better than some of these YieldMax ETF funds. I know this could be, an outlier before we had lower dividend payments, and we could go back to those lower dividend payments. But still, it's doing quite well. If you compare this to, like, say, a fund like, I don't know, let's look at GOOY. At GOOY, we're at 228 shares. Of course, the share value is different than QDTE. QDTE, one share is $40, while GOOY is like $15, $16, $17, something of that sort. So it's quite a lot cheaper, by 3 times cheaper. So you could buy a lot more shares, but still $113 for 228 shares, while here we're getting 100 shares for 51 cents per share and $51.65. So 2 times less share and 2 times less the dividend. So it's pretty comparative to GOOY. Not to mention, this is a weekly paying one. So we're at 107 on 2 weeks. This is only at $51 is just for the 1 week, and this is for 1 month. So it's performing quite well. I have a video coming in soon about XDTE, and QDT as well. I've been working on it as well. It's going to be a nice presentation video. Haven't done one of those in a while. Have been promising them, but haven't delivered. QDT and XDD are very interesting, and that is because they are zero DTE ETFs, and they have a quite useful capability that these funds do not. YieldMax ETF funds have a little, issue in the way they trade. They trade on a weekly basis. These guys trade on a daily basis, meaning they have daily regulations or daily changes they can make to have more growth and more income, while the weekly ones have to wait every week to make those changes. And when they do make those changes, they might miss out on growth and miss out on income. But that's for another video. That is how much we've made so far from this month from YieldMax ETFs. Of course, YMAX still hasn't come in. If it is at the 65-cent mark, I could expect to be at $140, $150 earned from YMAX. That could put us to $800 earned just from YieldMax ETFs. If it is lower because of dilution, then of course we will be probably at the 700 mark once again, maybe 780, 790. But I hope we're at 800. I really do, because then that'll put us to a new level for YieldMax ETFs. And also, listen, if you're stressing right now about the state of the economy, the state of the stock market, don't stress too much, especially if you're invested in these dividend ETFs. It's a perfect time to reinvest your funds back into these funds, add more shares, lower your average cost, buy those shares for cheap. If you have outside money, go ahead and buy in. If you have options, if you're doing poor man cover calls like me, also another reason not to be stressed. You have poor man cover calls. Mine are expiring a year and a half away. So I have a bunch of time to play with. I'm not stressed. I'm making my income. I'm reinvesting it all back in. My portfolio value might be down in the short term, but I know in the long term it's going to grow way past what it was before the downturn. So just keep reinvesting. Just keep buying more. These funds are there to stick around. We know that for a fact. As long as the underlyings are there, as long as there's volatility there, these funds will be there making option income, and we'll continue to grow and grow and grow until this number over here is not at $800, but at $1,000 a month just from YieldMax ETFs alone. And from Roundhill, well, I don't know what to expect from them yet. They're still quite new, and we don't know much about them. But if they do stick around as long as YieldMax ETFs, then these are also expected to be quite well in the performance side. So thank you everybody so much for watching. We have hit 668 so far for YieldMax ETFs. We've earned some good dividends on TSLY, continues to stay high. AMZY underperforms, of course, expected. Appley performs quite well as well, staying in the 30-cent mark. And GOOY performs well as well in the 40 to 50-cent mark. So anyways, guys, I'll see you guys in the next video where we're going to talk about the market crash, how to trade it, what to do, and see you guys in the next video next week.